3.8 billion people across the globe, and each and every country trying AI might not be the solution to what we are trying to address. So we call for more harmonized approach. As I said, in the Africa level, I think we really commend the efforts of the AI strategy across AU, and we hope as we go along, we will companies like ours to set up data centers or keep the data in that space. But there's a lot of cross-border data flows that beyond even our platforms, like when we're talking about payments, we're talking about people in the fintech. How will we make Africa trade make sense when every country is saying, keep our data only on our data space? So we have to have more conversations around what do those frameworks look like, what do those rules look like, and more at a harmonized place so that we can allow the innovation to happen. Other than that, I think we will not be headed in the right direction. We also advocate, I feel, or we believe that we're trying to cure for sometimes unimaginable risks. There's a lot of conversations which I go back to the Gen AI space where people will say, AI will replace humans. I don't know in which century or time that will happen. Because the truth of the matter, if you ask the tech gurus, we train the AI. The AI does not train us. At some point, it will become smarter based on what we do. But many of these, at some point, AI might write those models, but still, they are guided by us. So I don't believe there will be a time that AI will totally replace humans. They might replace jobs, but they might create other jobs. So it's really a balance between what are those specific risks. Ultimately, the arguments are, it might be too early to regulate because the environment changes so fast. The challenges you think of yesterday, innovation has frog-marched. Last night to this morning, there's new innovation. You can ask the ones who create every day. So I think it's important when we think about those accountability mechanisms, beyond the ones that most of the companies are trying to think, how do we challenges? It's how do we then come together to look at a more enabling framework to allow the innovation and to reduce the, most present risks that we see. A concern of AI and misinformation, deep fakes and all those things. There's the concern I said about existential risks like AI will replace people, AI will start shooting people, those kind of risks that people imagine could exist. There's questions around copyright, the future of work, sustainability. And I think that that's where we should spend more time thinking about how are some of those things being addressed. As a company, we've looked, it's almost a risk-based approach to those concerns of AI. So the accountability mechanisms we think about, or we are happy to embrace beyond that, at least should have those values or principles that I've laid out.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I would like to see if there are any questions on the floor that anyone would like to ask a question. But I think it's very clear that we need to harmonize our regulations and we need to harmonize our laws. Because when you are serving, hundreds of countries and each one wants to come with their own policies, it may be difficult. Because these are innovations that keep changing. Yes, I have two honorable members over there that you can ask the questions. I will take 3 questions because we need to wrap up. So I'll take 3 questions and then I'll allow them to answer before I give them 1 minute each. Go ahead, Honorable.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. Excellent presentation by the panelists. I am Honorable Adedeji Stanley Olajide, a parliamentarian from Nigeria. Sorry. Standing on existing protocol, again, I am Honorable Adedeji Stanley Olajide, parliamentarian from Nigeria. Excellent presentation. But there was a comment by my sister about being too early to regulate. I want to push back a bit on that because in the foundation of modeling, you can set controls, which basically will guide the outcome of your model. So We know things we don't want AI to do, which is to cross the ethical lines that we as human beings have established. So using those controls in the models, we can actually regulate, if I'm making sense. We can actually regulate the areas in which we do not want AI to actually obstruct. But I must say, AI is here to stay. There is no going back on that. We will continue to push, but we must regulate AI in order for us to not be behind. We should be in front rather than being behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable. We move to another Honorable. I don't want to be biased as a Honorable member as well, but it seems the Honorable members are the ones asking the questions. Yes, go ahead before I have anybody else from this side.
Thank you. Yes. I'm Anthony Suma, Member of Parliament from Ghana. And let me commend the panelists. They've done a wonderful job. Mine is not a question as such, but a contribution to the first question regarding the role governments can play. Particularly in Africa, African governments will have to be deliberate in their investment in AI. Or else, we will be forced to deal with the vulnerabilities. We must be deliberate in investing in the experts, the innovators, research institutions, and infrastructure. I think these are areas that we can get our head around and work in unanimity in terms of our investments. Because if we allow our innovators, they cannot compete with the tech giants, so we will always be behind. And then we have to deal with the biases and all the risks. So I think that African governments should get our act together and decide on where to invest, particularly in research, in our tech innovators, and infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Any more questions? We quite agree with you on that. We need to develop our infrastructure and also to ensure that we invest heavily in the AI because they are here to stay. Yes? And you can introduce yourself when you take the mic. Now, I'm going to take, after this one more question, and then I get back to the floor. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Arif Saleh Mohammed. I'm a management consultant. I do change in organizations. As far as the labor market is concerned, from my point of view, on AI, I think it'll actually increase. Obviously, some jobs will go. But there will be a huge increase, and there'll be a huge need for people to be ethical, for which there needs to be a lot of security, just like all these other podiums we see on the gosh, what do you call them again? Sorry, my RAM is not working this morning, but there's a lot of security which watches what people do in these media platforms. And therefore, the ethics of this will need to be really intact, and that's where the increase will come in. That means as a community, there's a need to be a bit more ethical than we probably thought we were. Looking at what happens on the net right now, what people put in, and the filtering and the non-filtering of it, and the effect it has on people, their psyches, and even their lives. That's all I had to add. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I go to the last question. There is one lady over there at the back. And that's the last question, and then I'll come back to the floor so that they can give answers and also give their closing remarks. Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, that's Dr. Silva.
Yes.
We are welcome.
Dr. Sylvia Sateche, I'm from South Africa, and I'm also the member of the MEG. There's a saying that machines are learning and people are glued, because we are always looking at our gadgets and missing behind the learning. And I always say that while AI can augment and really make things possible, if you're not clever, you can't use AI. So I just want to maybe make a submission that says, whatever we do, let it be a people-centered approach. Let's not lag behind and lose on learning, because we are relying on the machines that are going to learn for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let me come back to the panel. I start with Odis. You can, if you want to respond to any of the questions, and also you can give your last word as well, together, because we are almost running out of time.
Yeah, I would like to make a comment on the two comments from the members of parliament. One, I think that is very true. We will need to actually invest in the development and deployment of AI on the continent. And I mentioned a figure of one study that said that there is a need for $60 billion to invest in AI in the next 5 years. And I'm wondering if we haven't outsourced the need for those resources. Because if you go around and ask many of the governments, they will probably tell you they'll work with partners to ensure that there's those investments. But how much of the budget is actually going towards the development and deployment of AI? And I think that's the thing that needs to be talked about, because if we don't invest in the development and deployment, then we will become once again, I'd say, I don't want to use the word victims, but victims of the fourth industrial revolution, where we produce data, which is the raw materials, and we're consumers of the end products, which is the AI solutions. So I think to ensure that the same cycle doesn't happen again in this new industrial revolution, we need to ensure that value creation is there locally and is supported through visible investments. And on the second thing, when it comes to regulation, I think there's definitely need for regulation, but regulation that's future-proofed and that allows for sandboxes, because the evolving nature of AI and other emerging technologies is at a very unprecedented speed. So some of the use cases, or how a user, be an institution or a person, can use a particular AI technology might not be what even the developer or the company that made it intended to be used for. So having sandboxes where we can learn from, a small scale of early users and then adapt the regulation going forward will need to be put in place. It's something that we need to think about. It's something fintech, for example, in many countries with many of the central bank regulators, and something that will need to be done also for AI. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Jumani.
I think to me, I think the role of regulator as we look at the future of AI should be to facilitate and not to police, to create an environment where these innovations and technologies can be tested in a safe environment. What you'll have is even the developers and people who are actually working on this technology don't know how tomorrow will look like. So we are going to be regulating something that we completely don't understand. And if we are not flexible, we'll constantly say, stop, because we don't understand what's going to happen. So I think it's critical to be more of facilitative approach rather than policing approach when it's come to regulation.
Thank you very much. Yes, Sarah?
I must start by saying that I'm very happy with my co-panelists, that this is the first time I believe I'm sitting in a panel that is not Meta versus the people. So I'm happy that we are speaking one language. And maybe just to add a little bit to many of the points they've said, especially around regulation, Oladije, I think saying too early to regulate does not mean don't regulate. I think, as I said before, we can break down some of these concerns like data protection and privacy. That could we revisit under those particular laws? I think we are seeing, for instance, in Europe, there has been a quick race to overregulation to a point that we are arguing research is now showing that Europe is being left behind in innovation. Nothing big is coming out of Europe now because of overregulation. So, as they have said, because of the sort of dynamic nature of what is happening, some of the developers don't know what will happen tomorrow, where they are headed to. How do we come together to figure out what are the immediate risks? What are those risks? Well, that's why we really advocate for a risk-based approach in how we regulate, to say we are concerned about children and children's data. We are concerned about personal data. We are concerned about security, national security, military, kind of things, and think about how then do we put safeguards or guardrails in that area. So maybe when I say too early to regulate, I would say maybe it does not mean do not regulate, but let's center the discussions around very key areas and principles as to how to answer that. And I also want to just echo the point of regulatory sandboxes. We're seeing a lot of, as he said, in the fintech space especially, and many of our regulators are now developing that model. But how do we bring certain innovations that we want to deploy in the market and work with the regulators and the private sectors to test it for a while so that we can see when deployed where are the concerns, so that when we regulate, we know we are responding to sort of real threats or real challenges as opposed to imaginable risks. So maybe I'll stop there. I agree with the honorable member from Ghana. We spoke about the investments, really deliberate effort by governments to put money, bet on, big bets on it, and also to create environments where this innovation will thrive. And of course, I echo the sentiments from my sister from South Africa and from a people-centered approach.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to all my panelists. Let's give them a big round of applause for the wonderful presentation they've made. We want to thank Odis from Digital Umuganda, and Jumani from Sahara Ventures, and Sarah from Meta. Thank you so much for coming. And I think at the end of this panel discussions, I think what is clear is that AI is here to stay. And we must work together as our governments to ensure we collaborate in the regulation that we actually make. But we must also remember regulations must not deter innovation. That's very clear. But we must invest in our people, but above all, we must invest in infrastructure if Africa wants to move on to the next stage. Thank you all very much. And I'm really, really, really very grateful. And that's the reason why we have this panel. It was not like a push and pull, but just to be able to share ideas, to see what we can do to move this continent forward. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's extend a warm round of applause to our panelists and the moderator for raising the curtain for this day's session. I'm delighted to inform you that the guest of honor this morning has already arrived, and momentarily he will be touring on the booth, and then he will join us in here. As soon as he arrives, we will all be standing, ushered by the brass band to welcome him into the room, which will then be followed by the singing of the anthems. We're going to do the Tanzania's anthem and that of the African Union. This will then be followed by introductory remarks by Engineer Leo Magomba, Director of ICT Infrastructure, Ministry of Communication and Information Technology of the Republic of Tanzania, to be followed by the remarks on behalf of the Dar es Salaam Regional Commissioner. Then we shall have Mr. Vincent Wen, Board Member, VP of Huawei Tanzania, to give us his remarks as well. Then Ms. Millennium Malamla, representative from IGF Youth Task Force, will give us the remarks. And then we shall have the floor that will include speeches and entertainment, to be followed by or concluded by the remarks by the guest of honor, a couple of photo sessions, and then we shall proceed with the discussions as they're indicated on the program. In the meantime, as we wait for all of that to happen, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to request the technical team to play the relevant videos, and as soon as we are ready to start the program, we will notify you. Thank you very much. to the announcements. This has been found. So if you know you've dropped your veil, please let me know and I'll pass it on back to you. Number 2, we have translation devices in the room, this room, but in all other breakaway rooms. So when you leave this room, kindly do not carry the translation device with you. Leave it on your chair, on the desk. In the room that you will be going, you will find translation devices in those rooms as well. But in the meantime, if someone has dropped this beautiful right at the front, and I'll pass it back to you. Thank you.
Tanzania.
Kwa mujibu wa sheria iliyowekwa.
With vast wilderness areas, they include the plains of Serengeti National Park, a safari mecca populated by the Big Five, the elephant, lion, leopard, buffalo and rhino, and the Kilimanjaro National Park, home to Africa's highest mountain. In the offshore lies the tropical islands of Zanzibar and Mafia, with a marine park home to whales, sharks, and coral reefs. Efforts made by the government of Tanzania established the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology to set a ground into a second stage of digitalization and transforming this beautiful, blessed country of Africa. In contrast to the first stage of digitization managed by e-government, the ministry came into place to enforce digitalization governance in the country. Through this e-governance initiative, the ministry managed to prepare the first and 10 years digital economy strategic framework that was launched by Her Excellency, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, on July. Framework, the digital public infrastructure payments at population scale. The stack has 3 layers, namely enabling layer, digital public infrastructure layer, and application layer. The 3 key pillars to issue the number to under 18 years of age. The Jamii Malipo, which is interoperable digital financial DPI layer, is Jamii Exchange, which sets the platform for data exchange, has locally developed the first homegrown solution, probably in the Horn of Africa, that facilitate a smooth data exchange engine built with the consent protection. Jamii Exchange comes at the right time where African countries need to have a platform for cross-border data flow. To strengthen the e-governance through the ministry, the government established ICT Commission, which is responsible for overseeing national ICT policy, enacted the 2022 Personal Data Protection Act, and established its course for Cross-Border Protection Commission. These and many more efforts has set Tanzania readiness to enter into personal government stage, which is the highest stage, and a vision obtained after successful digital transformation. With personal government, Jamii Portal and Jamii Wallet are among building blocks and use cases that will see the country smoothly. And rhino, and the Kilimanjaro National Park, home to Africa's highest shore, lies the tropical islands of Zanzibar and Mafia, with a marine park home to whales, sharks, and coral reefs. Tanzania's digital transformation journey has not been easy. Like other countries, Tanzania established e-government agency back in 2012. These early efforts a set of open APIs and digital public goods that aim to unlock the economic primitives of identity, data, and payment scale. The stack has 3 layers, namely enabling layer, digital public infrastructure layer, and application layer. The 3 key pillars of this Tanzania technology stack is found on the DPI layer. To name them are digital payment number issued to over 25 million residents who are over 18 years. The efforts are ongoing to issue the number to under 18 years of age. The Jamii that go through Tanzania instant payments of Africa. Governance initiative, the ministry managed to prepare the first and 10 years digital economy strategic framework that was launched by Her Excellency, the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, prepared the Tanzania Enterprise Architecture Framework, the Tanzania Interoperability and Standardization Framework, the Digital Public Infrastructure Blueprint, and the 2024 Tanzania Technology Stack. Tanzania Stack includes a set of open APIs and digital public goods that aim to unlock the economic primitives of identity, data, and payments at population scale. The stack has 3 layers, namely enabling layer, digital public infrastructure layer, and application layer. The 3 key pillars of this Tanzania Technology Stack is found on the DPI layer. To name them are digital payment, digital identity, and data sharing. These 3 pillars in the stack have been named using the beautiful Swahili language, which is originating from Tanzania, namely Jamii Namba as digital identity, Jamii Malipo as digital payment, and Jamii Exchange as data exchange. Tanzania has seen Jamii Namba issued to over 25 million residents who are over 18 years. The efforts are ongoing to issue the number to under 18 years of age. The Jamii Malipo, which is interoperable digital financial service, sets a platform for over 1,000 transactions that go through Tanzania instant payment system daily, that also connects all mobile money, banks, and non-banks. The efforts are ongoing to have Jamii Namba enabled payment that is expected to raise the economy of this country of East Africa. The 3rd pillar of the stack, located in the DPI layer, is Jamii Exchange, which sets the platform for data exchange. Tanzania has locally developed the first homegrown solution, probably in the Horn of Africa, that facilitates a smooth data exchange engine built with the consent at the core. The Jamii Exchange has privacy and security by design, and at the center of this engine is personal data protection. Jamii Exchange comes at the right time, where African countries need to have a platform for cross-border data flow. To strengthen the e-governance through the ministry, the government established ICT Commission, which is responsible for overseeing national ICT policy, enacted the 2022 Personal Data Protection Act, and established its course for Cross-Border Protection Commission. These and many more efforts has set Tanzania readiness to enter into personal government stage, which is the highest stage, and a vision obtained after successful digital transformation. With personal government, Jamii Portal and Jamii Wallet are among building blocks and use cases that will see the country smoothly transform itself among global digital economic powers. With Jamii Exchange, the President of Tanzania, Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, is proud to welcome all African countries to participate on this Suluhu platform for cross-border data sharing between countries. It is high time now Africa sets regulatory framework to enable use of data sharing within and outside the borders by leveraging the Jamii Exchange, developed by African innovators for African people to support digital transformation in Africa for economic development of our people. God bless Tanzania. God bless Africa. Nakazi endelee. Tanzania.